This evening, first, a family's fight for justice. The body of 11-year-old Adriana Young is at the center of renewed calls for answers as her family considers petitioning for a full commission of inquiry. Why are they challenging the official findings, and what are they hoping to uncover? Plus, the Lamborghini showdown. President Irfaan Ali fires back at billionaire businessman Azruddin Mohamed, accusing him of deliberately falsifying a Lamborghini's import value. Mohamed calls it political victimization, but who's really telling the truth? Also, mapping out apologies. Caribbean Airlines is saying sorry for a major misstep, using the wrong map of Guyana in its in-flight magazine. How did it happen, and what the airline is doing to make amends? Meanwhile, Building Dreams, a government housing initiative, brings relief to families in Region 6. Find out how 21 homeowners are now one step closer to their dream homes, and why this program is boosting the local economy. Finally, terror at a rally. A horrific attack at a rally in Colorado leaves several people seriously injured after being set on fire. U.S. authorities are treating it as an act of terrorism. Details ahead. Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for June 2nd, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, President Irfaan Ali has publicly accused businessman and aspiring presidential candidate Azruddin Mohamed of dishonesty, stating that Mohamed deliberately falsified the value of a luxury Lamborghini imported in 2020. The accusation follows a recent video released by Mohamed, which included purported messages between him and the president about the vehicle's clearance through customs.
On the account of the public invitation of President and Vice President of Guyana to corroborate the story, I hereby release the first tranche. What you see here is a WhatsApp conversation between myself and Irfaan. On September 30th, 2020, messages were exchanged about the purchase of the Lamborghini. With his approval, on October 7th, 2020, the Lamborghini was bought for $75,300 US. Irfaan is in receipt of that invoice, as seen in the messages. While they said they did not have any proof, here it is. The SWIFT payment was sent through Republic Bank.
In his statement, President Ali confirmed that he had offered assistance with customs clearance years ago, but stressed that Mohamed never disclosed the correct purchase price of $695,000 US to him or the Guyana Revenue Authority. Instead, Mohamed allegedly presented a false invoice listing the car's value as $75,000 US, which he continues to maintain in his recent videos. The president stated that this raises the issue of Mohamed's lies about the declared purchase price of the vehicle. He further added that based on the facts now confirmed by the United States Authority, the answer is yes. The president added that several financial transactions have since been verified as the actual payment. Mohamed, recently charged with tax evasion and making false declaration, has accused the government of political victimization following his announcement that he will contest the upcoming 2025 elections. He claimed that both President Ali and Vice President Barjaglio were aware of the car's importation and that he kept the president informed during various stages of the process. President Ali dismissed these claims, labeling Mohamed's video as further proof of duplicity and dishonesty, and emphasized that having his phone number is not unusual, as many Guyanese reach out to him regularly. The U.S. government had previously sanctioned Mohamed, his father, and their companies for allegations of tax evasion and corruption. The fallout between the Mohamed family and the government reportedly widened after the younger Mohamed signaled his political ambition. The government is now pursuing local investigations based on evidence provided by the U.S. authorities. On a different note, the late Adriana Young was posthumously honored by the U.S. Congress at the Guyana Independence Parade in Brooklyn. Dale Jarvis has more on the award and the calls for justice.
It is in the cries that wake the nation, in every voice that says her name, in every candle, every march that fans into a righteous flame.
The late 11-year-old Adriana Young, whose mysterious death in April sparked widespread concern, was posthumously honored by the U.S. Congress during the Guyana Independence Parade in Brooklyn, New York on Sunday. The event, considered one of the largest West Indian cultural gatherings in New York City, drew a massive crowd and was streamed live to over 1 million viewers worldwide. Adriana's family, including her parents, aunt, and siblings, accepted the award from the New York City Council member Chris Banks on behalf of Congress. The award was presented in Adriana's memory following her tragic death at the Doubleday International Hotel and Bar in Tucson, East Bank, Essequibo. The Guyana Independence Committee, NYC, dedicated this year's parade to Adriana, calling for justice in her case. The Young family traveled to the U.S. for a second autopsy in Georgia and attended the parade, where thousands of Guyanese and supporters gathered, many carrying placards and chanting "Justice for Adriana." The parade concluded with a unity concert, where tributes were paid through poetry, performance, and original songs. Notable attendees included House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, and Councilman Chris Banks, among other U.S. officials and community leaders. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jervis.
Thanks, Dale. With a second autopsy of 11-year-old Adriana Young completed, her family is now considering petitioning the government of Guyana to launch a commission of inquiry into her death. Their attorney, Dr. Dexter Todd, made this announcement on Sunday. Speaking on the People's National Congress Reform's Nation Watch program, Dr. Todd said the family would challenge the initial autopsy findings, scrutinize the police investigation, and formally request a COI to probe the case comprehensively.
One of the first leg that we're going to be looking at, we are going to be challenging the first autopsy's findings and the report. And we're going to be doing that because we believe if left in the way it is problematic for precedents in relation to criminal investigations in Guyana. The second leg of this, of course, will be to look at the police's investigation. Now, I can tell you that we are also going to be considering, and this will be clearly for various organizations, to plead with government to hold a commission of inquiry in this regard. So with a commission of inquiry, you get an opportunity to interrogate all that was done in this matter and for the not done. Yes, and to make certain recommendations.
Dr. Todd went on to criticize the first autopsy's textbook approach to drowning and call for a deeper review of how the case was handled, saying it sets a dangerous precedent for similar investigations.
Some of the things that we will have to do, because it is a cause of concern internationally, that we have treated this whole investigation of drowning a bit too much by textbook, so to speak. And we have not really connected a very all the various components of this investigations to come to that findings. And so there is going to be a need for us to revisit the first autopsy. Now, report.
Todd indicated that international legal experts are also joining the case, concerned about the treatment of suspected homicide drowning in Guyana.
This particular matter, in terms of the legal leg, will be assisted by a number of lawyers internationally who are concerned about the precedent being set in relation to how cases of homicidal drowning are dealt with in Guyana, and to have that properly defined in a sense. So that is going to be one of the first areas that will be dealt with in relation to the legal position.
Meanwhile, retired Royal Canadian Mounted Police Officer Leonard McCoshin, who reviewed the police investigation, praised the Guyana Police Force for its thoroughness, calling their documentation and forensic efforts exceptional. However, Adriana's family continues to question critical aspects of the case, including the timing, cause, and circumstances of her death. Adriana was reportedly missing on April 23rd during a family outing with about 20 other family members at the Doubleday International Hotel and Bar in Tucson. Her body was found the next day in the hotel pool, despite reports by the family that several searches were made in the pool, raising doubts about the drowning theory. Following the first autopsy done in Guyana by 3 renowned pathologists, the family arranged for a second autopsy in Atlanta, Georgia, where Dr. Carol Terry, chief medical examiner of Gwinnett County, called the case highly suspicious and emphasized that drowning could not be conclusively confirmed. The family intends to challenge the first autopsy's findings, scrutinize the police investigation, and push for a comprehensive probe into Adriana's death. Stick around when we return. Caribbean Airlines issues apology over incomplete map of Guyana in advertisement, and Region 6 families receive the support through government steel and cement initiative.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from modern optical services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Current smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Caribbean Airlines has extended a public apology for a recent advertisement in its in-flight magazine that mistakenly featured an incomplete map of Guyana. The airline acknowledged the error, emphasizing that the correct map of Guyana covers 83,000 square miles and expressing regret for any concerns caused, particularly among its valued Guyanese customers and stakeholders. In a statement, Caribbean Airlines reaffirmed its respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations it serves, recognizing the importance of national symbols, including maps, to the people of Guyana. The airlines clarified that the error was unintentional and does not reflect its views or values. Caribbean Airlines has launched an internal investigation and is implementing stronger review processes to prevent similar issues in the future. The company expressed gratitude to its stakeholders and the people of Guyana for their continued support, patience, and understanding, pledging to maintain its commitment to serving Caribbean communities with care and respect. In other news, in a bid to support home builders in Region 6, 21 families received vouchers under the government's Steel and Cement Subsidy program during a 2-day housing activity at State House in New Amsterdam. The initiative, led by Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell, Minister within the Ministry Susan Rodriguez, and Permanent Secretary Bishram Kupen, aims to ease financial burdens for prospective homeowners. Beneficiaries expressed gratitude, noting that the vouchers provide a crucial boost to their construction efforts. The initiative has injected over $4 million into the local economy. Home builders with budgets of up to $6 million receive steel and 1 sling of cement for foundations, while those with budgets between $6 million and $25 million receive 2 slings of cement. Additionally, several individuals from the Williamsburg housing development were handed transport for their house lots, a move that provides them with for more land ownership and greater stability. The housing initiative, a key project of President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali, reflects the government's ongoing commitment to improving living conditions and supporting home ownership for Guyanese families. Don't go away after the break. Mexico's judicial elections meet with low turnout and controversy, and Nigeria flood crisis deepens with hundreds homeless.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from modern optical services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smalls make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. In the Caribbean, Barbados Foreign Minister Kerry Simmons has warned that Haiti's deepening crisis poses a growing security threat to CARICOM. He cited rising gun crime, trafficking, and mass displacement, warning of spillover into neighboring nations. Simmons called for urgent international support, criticizing the under-resourced Kenya-led mission and a lack of U.S. commitment. He stressed that Haiti's instability threatens regional security and demanded more global engagement. Mexico has embarked on a groundbreaking yet controversial experiment in judicial reform, becoming the first country to elect all of its judges by popular vote. This unprecedented move, championed by the ruling Morena Party as a means to combat corruption and restore public trust, has sparked intense debate and opposition. Al Jazeera's John Holman reports.
Early Sunday morning, Maria Eugenia is waiting patiently to cast a vote in Mexico's judicial elections. The first in this polling booth, she's hoping for change.
Tristemente hay corrupción.
Sadly, there's corruption, manipulation of the system by those who have the money, and that's what we're living through. I want things to work the way they should, with integrity.
Mexico's the first country to choose all of its judges by popular vote, from Supreme Court justices to local magistrates, a process that began this Sunday. The ruling party, Morena, says it will root out corruption, cronyism, and revive trust in a system so broken that less than 10% of Mexicans even bother to report crimes. But opponents say this is something else. Morena's attempting to dominate the judiciary, the only branch of high government that remains out of its control. A protest snaked down Mexico City's main avenue, Paseo de la Reforma, even as voting went on.
They've put on the ballot the people they want, so that removes the checks and balances, which is fundamental to the three branches of government, that none of them should depend on the others.
It's not just the potential politicising of the judiciary that's worrying many rights organisations here. It's also standard slipping to allow more candidates. The government's changed the rules for anyone who wants to be a judge this election. Before, you had to have years of experience in the judicial system and to pass rigorous exams. Now, all you need is a decent grade in a law degree and 5 letters of recommendation from anyone who knows you to be a candidate. There are other worries that criminal groups who often have a hand in local elections here could see this as their way into the judiciary too. With so much at stake, the country's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, had called on the country's 100 million strong electorate to make their voices heard. But instead, largely empty polling stations. Some of that's due not just to opposition, but to confusion and indifference over who to vote for among the many largely unknown candidates. For example, in this voting station, after 7 hours, that's the only box that's full of ballots. On what the government planned to be a historic day, the majority of Mexicans preferred to do something else instead. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
An act of terrorism. That's how U.S. authorities are treating an attack at a rally to raise awareness about Israeli captives held in Gaza. It happened in the city of Boulder in Colorado. Witnesses says several people were set on fire at the gathering. Al Jazeera's Barbara Angopa reports.
Panic swept through a busy outdoor shopping area after a man threw petrol bombs at a small group. Witnesses say some people were set on fire. The victims had gathered to raise awareness about Israeli captives held in Gaza.
I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported to local hospitals. This attack happened at a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack. The subject has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon, and he's 45 years old.
The FBI says it's investigating the attack as an act of terrorism, and lawyers are deciding on the charges.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
The U.S. Attorney and I just spoke on the phone again now, and in the coming days, decisions will be made about what charges to file and where. There's a couple different options, but what I would stress now, most importantly, is we are fully united 100% in making sure the charges we bring hold the attacker fully accountable.
The attack happened during heightened tension over anti-war rallies in support of Palestinians in Gaza on college campuses and beyond. The Trump administration says the protests are anti-Semitic and have contributed to an increase in hate crime. Police in Boulder, Colorado say they're confident the suspect acted alone. Barbara Angopa, Al Jazeera.
Emergency aid has finally reached the flood-ravaged town of Mokowa in central Nigeria 4 days after a devastating flood swept through the area. The flooding, which arrived unusually early this year, caught local officials unprepared, leading to delays in relief efforts. Al Jazeera's Ahmad Idris reports.
After a 4-day wait, help is finally here for hundreds of survivors. Dozens struggled to receive bags of rice. There were also plastic mats to sleep on, but the priority for most is food. It's the first time they receive any assistance from the authorities.
As it comes, we distribute. Because if we say we are going to wait till we got all the relief materials, most especially food, because the principal thing now is food.
Providing adequate shelter could take weeks or months. For now, victims live in unsafe buildings. Religious school student Umar Mahmoud scavenges for scrap metals to sell. He narrowly escaped drowning, but his 3 friends didn't make it.
As we tried to escape, they fell and were swept away.
Their bodies were never found. His teachers look after 870 students, most of whom survived. There have been some deaths, but dozens are still unaccounted for.
The losses here are substantial. We are all devastated.
He hopes those missing are still alive. An excavator has arrived at last to not only clear debris, but to find bodies. The delay in removing bodies trapped under the debris poses serious health risk. People here are already reporting the heavy stench of decomposing corpses, raising fears of contamination of food and water sources. The flood arrived early in central Nigeria this year, catching officials ill-prepared. It took days to get relief aid to survivors. People here hope that when the peak of the rainy season arrives, officials will be better prepared. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Mokwa, Nigeria.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day forecast. And that's it to be 2 Headline News for this Monday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.